Jag har pratat lite faktiskt med min dotter då, om det skulle vara så att det skulle gå att få hjälp med det.
We allow the animal to have this kind of relief. Why do we not give everybody that right?
Se ei tunnu hänestä hyvältä kuolla Sveitsissä. Se sama voidaan tehdä Suomessa.
I was Googling the phrase, how do you kill yourself peacefully?
I'm gonna be executed then Friday.
Ready to go? I'm ready. Clear it.
We don't use illegal products. It's a totally legal process. You can climb in and peacefully die.
Cancer is the most common cause. And many people prepare way beforehand when they have the diagnosis, where they think it could get really ugly towards the end and they want to have this kind of insurance. Then it's the neurological illnesses like ALS, motor neuron disease, MS, that are tormenting the patients tremendously. The third most common group is elderly people that have their life quality is not sufficient from their point of view anymore, for whatever reason. Most of them have many illnesses that are not terminal, but all of them together make life so difficult for them that they don't want to go on. Or elderly people that already had a stroke, they know there's a next one coming that might incapacitate them in a way that they cannot make that decision anymore. So they actually go a bit too early. So I got us some grapes, 3 different cheese, and a very good bread. Our parents were Salvation Army officers. And we had to go to Sonntagsschule. In Sonntagsschule, we were indoctrinated in what God is and what the devil is, what we can do, what we can't do, and all these things. And when our mom died, I saw how my dad suffered under the picture that he had of a loving God looking after everybody like a father. And then this absolute catastrophe for him. He said, when I'm going to meet this guy up there, I'm going to throw everything in front of his feet and tell him what the hell is going on. How can you fuck up so badly? He completely lost his naive faith. And seeing that, I had to think about all the stuff that was flowing into us, you know. And then from the religious point of view, I was diving into the Jehovah's Witnesses, into the Rosicrucians, into an organization that I don't want to name, but it's the worst of them all. They should really prohibit it worldwide. It's very dangerous.
So where do you stand today?
The closest thing that I can accept as a guideline is the philosophy of Buddhism. Like Zen Buddhism, I got into it very deeply. And what I found is the type of concentration and living in the moment. That's an absolutely wonderful way of living. I really have no idea what's going to happen once we are not anymore. Somehow I have the feeling through all the experiences I had as a child that the body that is just lying there once we have left the body is one thing, and whatever has left that body is something completely different. that light, that radiant being that those people were just 2-3 minutes before, you know, when I still talked to them, when we still joked with each other, that's gone. There's just, it's like an empty car, you know. Somebody left. The people stepped out of it. But looking at it from a scientific point of view, it is very unlikely that once our brain stops to function, that this fantastically complex mechanism that gives us the possibility to reflect and to think, that this continues to exist. So I leave it out in the open, and I'm looking forward to the moment when I die, because then I will know or not know, you know? This is I'm very curious.
Vart mig i världen vänder. Stormen lycka i Guds händer. Lyckan kommer, lyckan går. Den Gud älskar lyckan får. Amen.
Klockan var 21:38. Då tog sitt sista andetag. Magnus ringde hem sjukhuset. Jag tyckte det var hemskt. För det här var det så långt för hon var ännu med oss. Men då de tog henne så var det som att de tog henne ifrån dig.
Till jord ska du återvända.
She's tired from the journey. Well, I went on a bucket list trip with my dad, kind of like making amends and trying to heal our relationship, and see this tour of the South, which was really, really beautiful. But it was very hard for me because of my advancing paralysis. And lots of times I would fall and my dad wouldn't really be able to support me physically. So that was a challenge. But I'm really glad I did the trip. Good girl. I could see myself in Switzerland in August. Even if I wanted to hold on longer, I really can't because I don't have the resources to manage this type of disease. Like, this is a really expensive. Come on, Bella. When people don't have enough money or they don't have a loving family to carry, they want to die sooner. And I don't want full-time care. I don't want people coming in all the time. So I really have to make this decision soon. I'll let her go a little free. I try to have a gratitude list every day. I'll do it by the water, thanking, the Creator, Holy Spirit, however you conceive it to be. Because even though I have this life-ending illness, every day is a gift. And I really try to do that. So I just am so thankful and full of gratitude for every day that there is people that are helping me and that there is life, because even inside of a degenerative illness, I'm still alive and feeling the life force. So that's so important to just always remember that. And I like to burn sage, but it's kind of hard to get it today. So, there you go. Native Americans would burn sage here in New Mexico. This is a tradition with the Pueblo Indians. And water is very sacred because it's the life force, the water. And we actually buried my sister in the water. We spread her ashes in the water. So I think ultimately I would probably like to go that way too, to have some of my ashes put in the water. There we go.
I saw a great change in her after she was accepted. Many people, once they have the okay, they don't use it. It's just there for their own autonomy, for their own, they can control part of their physical destiny. And that is such, why put someone that's going through this in every possible aspect of their life through this? Give them the opportunity. Not all going to use it, but the ones that are going to use it, they're going to wait till the very last day. They're not going. Very few people want to die. Truly die. They want to hold on to everything that they have, or every moment, because they're even in moments of pain. Well, at least for Maya, there are still moments of pleasure. There's friendships, there's cats, there's beauty.
You think I would go to see the Day of the Dead in Mexico, and then that would be maybe after that I could finally go back to Switzerland?
You go to Switzerland whenever you feel your journey here is over, when the pain is so intense.
But the pain is so intense now.
Yeah, it is. Only you can tell when you have had enough.
I've had enough.
Are you ready to get on
But I keep going.
Are you ready to get on the airplane today?
No, not yet.
All right then. Only you can answer that question.
Okay, but I get to go when I want, right?
Absolutely.
You're not going to stop me.
Never.
You're not going to call the airlines and say I'm a terrorist?
Never have do a bomb threat to the airlines to stop you from going. You silly person.
And then will you go over to say goodbye to me when I take the medication?
If you want me there, babe, I'll do it. I've never said yes before. Interesting. I've been in the homes of a handful of friends as they called a house visiting vet in to put down their animal in their home in their arms. But I was never able to be there with the animal and the person. I was always in the other room with all the other animals. I have to put down the selfishness in moments like this and grow. Shame you can't do it at the house.
Yeah, it's illegal in New Mexico.
We know that.
They would call the cops and you'd go to jail.
Who's they? And what jail will they take you to? That's a bunch of fear.
Yeah, maybe it is.
First of all, who's they?
The police.
But who would call them? I'm not understanding your fears. And only we know when and where.
Yeah, but what? You can't just give me a bunch of heroin. That's not going to work out.
No, you'd have to have the real deal.
The real, it's very hard to get.
Well, nothing that a trip to Mexico.
You think Nembutal would get across?
So, hiding something this big?
Yeah.
It's a shame that we have to even think about it that way.
I know. Better to just do it down there and
well,
on a beach resort.
Yeah, well, go with it. Come on, go with it.
It's cheaper than Switzerland.
I didn't, and it still is an issue, I didn't realize how intense this survival instinct is. I think it's like when you put your hand on a hot stove and you cower back. So this is the kind of dream that I have a lot, is where I'm getting close. I've even had a dream where Rudy is like giving me the infusion and I take it and then I realize it's going into my veins and I start going, ah, and screaming, you know, and I know intellectually and I've thought it out and this is what I want because I don't want to die inside this illness. But I think I'm worried that might come up. And it's more powerful than you and your own ego. It's like something that is just our human nature. And I'm worried that it's going to happen the night before. That when they come to get me and say it's time to go to the apartment, that there's going to be this like primal fear. I'm really worried about that. I'm concerned. And I need help. Because the alternative is for sure not good. The alternative is that I will become completely paralyzed and bedridden and lose the ability to get to Switzerland.
Ready?
Okay, now I'm very tired.
All of a sudden?
Yeah, let's go home. I have to lay in the bed later. I just turned 41 and I really, really feel I'm getting closer and closer to making that step to go back to Europe.
Yeah, I do. I think she's going back.
And I strongly believe and also want to have for myself the assurance that this is a human right, that I can decide about my own life, how it ends and when it ends. Nobody has to tell me, you know, that I have to keep on suffering to reach some kind of level where a doctor says, oh yeah, now I see you're suffering enough, now you're allowed to die. This is crazy. What are we doing, you know? Look, every animal that we see suffering to a certain extent, we allow that animal to have this kind of relief in a gentle way of going. We as humans can even say, please, please, I am just suffering. I just want to leave. I just want to die. Why do we not give everybody that kind of a right?
We had been looking at Switzerland as a way of having this new device, the Sarco, tested there. Because if we made a device like the Sarco and gave it to someone in Australia or in the Netherlands, and they used it, it would be argued that we had assisted them by giving them the means.
Okay.
But we couldn't do that in any other country except possibly Finland, because we had heard, and stories were around as we talked to people in Switzerland about the legal situation in Switzerland. Finland was mentioned as a place where possibly the same circumstances existed. If I was to give you a Sarco, you climb in and press the button, that maybe under the Finnish legal situation, no crime would be committed under Finnish law, and that's what we're really here to investigate and see whether that is in fact the case. Because it did seem to us it gives the opportunity, rather than climbing in and looking at the Swiss Alps as you die, you could climb in and look at the Northern Lights as you die.
Should you be so lucky to see?
Yeah, you have to go up a bit
more
north.
I mean, technically, in principle.
Yeah, suicide as such isn't a crime in Finland, so I mean it's not illegal to commit suicide, which would also mean, according to the Finnish understanding, if we look at it from a criminal law perspective, that it's not punishable either to aid someone to commit suicide or even to instigate someone to commit suicide, because there's no crime, no actual crime that you can aid in or instigate to.
Yes.
So in principle, if I only give you the means to end your own life, if I give you a pill or a gun and you're actually the one who actively commits the act, and you're actually the one who's actively taking your own life, I'm only the one aiding you or providing you with the means to do it, that wouldn't be punishable.
Even if you know that's the person's intention.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I mean basically, I mean you would say that your own life is an interest, that it's part of your self-determination to decide what you want to do with your life, if you want to end it. Which would also mean that it's not a crime for someone to help you in expressing your self-determination and ending your life if you so wish to do. And it wouldn't be a difference in Finland if I know what you're actually going to use a pill for. You wouldn't. It's not necessary to look at the intent on my intent for why I'm aiding you in committing suicide. But then, if we're talking about assisted suicide, if I'm actually the one who's actively helping you to commit suicide, in the sense that I'm actually the one pulling the trigger or injecting a lethal dose of a drug into you, that would be a crime.
Yes.
So the notion of self-determination in Finnish law, is it preserved in statute, in a constitution?
It can be derived from the constitution.
It's a very important concept.
Yeah. It is possible to derive it from the constitution. Yes. Yeah.
That's a very good thing. That makes us feel a lot happier.
But I mean, where you do, or where you definitely get into a kind of a gray zone, is as I said. I mean, active assistance would be punishable in Finland, where you're actually the one killing the other person, even though you have his or her consent to it. While passive wouldn't be punishable. But where you might get into problems is when the other person, the person who wants to end his or her life, isn't completely aware of what he or her is doing. So, for instance, if the person who wants to die or states that he or she wants to die suffers from some kind of severe mental disease or even severe dementia,
yes,
we might get into problems even though I'm only the one providing him
Sure.
or her with the means to commit suicide.
Now that crops up in Switzerland, whereby it's almost mandatory that there be some test that the person has what mental capacity, so that they know what they're doing. That usually involves a psychiatric assessment to know that the person is able. They get effectively said, okay, this person knows what they're doing, and then it's okay to give them the means which they then have to use. So I would imagine that may be exactly the same here, that you may be, if you were being prudent, make sure that the person who wanted to take this or go down this path had some sort of assurances that they were having sound mental capacity.
Yeah.
I think it might be prudent to get a Finnish psychiatrist involved.
For anyone who would be offered to use Sarco. If a person who was elderly had been to a psychiatrist, had had their mental capacity assessed and had been passed, if Exit then provided them with a Sarco, their family were fully supportive. If they got in, they pressed the button themselves. Could you see legal action being taken by the state?
Well, not in Finland, no.